We need to pick me up. Lub, we got something coming out in 2026 for House of the Dragon, but give me some other news from Westeros. What do we got, man?
Yeah, you know that world George created, it's only getting larger. They're only making it a whole expanded universe and it's still going. So we do have 7 spin-offs in development. There's 3 live action. We have Aegon's Conquest, of course, and 10,000 ships, which is Nymeria, who Arya named her Wolf after. It's her like coming to Westeros with their giant 10,000 ship army. And there's 4 anime. Oh, there's one untitled live action show as well. And then 4 animated. We have the 9 Voyages of the Sea Snake. Then we get a young Corlys and his rise to power. The Golden Empire of Yeti. So I don't know exactly what that is. Something over on the other side of the Narrow Sea, over in Essos or Pentos, one of those places. And then 2 more
Interesting.
untitled animated shows. So what do you guys think those untitled shows could be?
Well, I'm hoping. Here's one. Here's one for you. I would love to see the Blackfire Rebellion play out on screen, and that
Mm-hmm.
might come up during this episode a little later. That is one I would love to see brought to the screen. So, I'll go for that. A hopeful guess.
Right?
I'm kind of hoping something with Valeria. Just like I would prefer that
Mm-hmm.
not animated personally, but like,
I think it
it,
would be though.
yeah, I think it could be good too. I mean, the amount of dragons and whatnot. So
Yeah.
hopefully somehow we get that in some shape or form.
Right.
That would be a tough budget, but absolutely would love. I mean, by the time they get to that, the IP they got to have enough funds at this point to keep putting more and more money into bigger budget projects. And I mean, the conquest of Aegon, it's gonna be a hefty budget. So
Oh
if they're willing to spend the money, yeah, hell yeah.
I'm definitely most excited for that one out of all of them, though.
yeah. Right.
Oh yeah. I
So
mean, it's what everybody's been wanting. Are we gonna get Henry Cavill as Aegon? Do I even want him now? I don't know. I think I'd still be down. But God, I just want to see it.
Yeah, and that's the one Game of Thrones story that has like a general happy ending compared to everything else. You know, like there
Right?
is there is some deaths, of course, but it's a happy ending. I had the Blackfire Rebellion as well, where it's so cool. Where it's
Okay.
like the Targaryen pretenders who were all the bastards go up against the legitimate family of Targaryens, and it's in 196 AC, so that's right in the middle of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. I also thought about Maegor the Cruel, constructing the Red
Oh
Keep, just
God.
have like a pure evil main character.
I was gonna say
It would, and
it's
then
gonna be
like seeing
brutal.
his demise at the end would be really cool, as well. Like finally get to see him die.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Real quick, I gotta interrupt. We already got some activity in the chat.
Oh,
Never thought we'd see him in this topic, but it's Mr. Andy.
oh,
Andy, our boy from the Galactic Core podcast. Congratulations to you, sir, on the new air you have brought into the world. And he says, fancy seeing you guys here. I'm up feeding the little ones, so thought I'd come to learn about House of the Dragon. And,
oh.
what a better thing to do while feeding your little one. Welcome in, brother.
And for the animated one, I think that's good for Robert's Rebellion, because you don't want to do a
Yeah.
whole live action show about a story we know a lot about. But people like fans really want that show. I would still like it, but I think animated would be the better way to go.
Yeah, it avoids the problem of having to cast people who look like the people who already
Mm-hmm.
played those roles in Game of Thrones. But I would love to see that too. Yeah, I like that. I wish we would have gotten one that we were supposed to, which is called Blood Moon or The Long Night. But it was a spin-off with a $30 million pilot episode that had been produced already. And it would have been set thousands of years before the main show. Would have told the story of the fabled first battle against the White Walkers, but unfortunately it fizzled out, in part because Martin himself struggled to come up with ideas for the project. Where have we heard that before, George? Can't wait for Winds of Winter. But it's because it dealt with the part of the Game of Thrones timeline even he'd never really thought much about, and it promised to solve many mysteries he'd not really considered. So I don't want him to force a story if it's not there already about it, just to do it. But man, that would have been a pretty sweet premise.
But so House of the Dragon season 3 comes out 2026, but the Hedge Knight, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, is 2025. So we do get a
Yes.
little show in between, and that'll be multiple seasons.
Do we know when in 2025? Okay. All right. We saw some more set photos of it. A couple. Egg. We saw the bald egg sitting around a
Yeah.
campfire. Dunk the lunk, thick as a castle wall, walking around. But yeah, it'll be good. That'll be good. I'm looking forward to that. So
That's a good story.
well, there you go. You know what else I'm looking forward to? Getting this episode. Drum roll. Bunch of massive budget for production value. Welcome in to another episode of Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. I am your host, David. Here with me is my co-host, Caleb, and our returning special guest from our coverage of episode 5, Mr. Ben Donahue. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me again. Glad we get to talk about this and maybe what's coming in the near future.
Yeah, there
I
you
guess
go. Get a little closure.
distant future at this point, but
Yeah. We'll have you back on in a few years. Don't even worry about it. No, we're happy we could get you on. JD was not able to join us again here tonight. I do have his review and rating for the end, so I'll throw that out there. You guys will hear from JD. But Mr. Ben Donahue, with his Fire and Blood recent knowledge and already having been on the show and a friend of ours, we figured let's get this man back on to cap off the season. And that's what we're doing. We're covering House of the Dragon, Season 2 finale, Episode 8, titled The Queen Who Ever Was. Shout out Rhaenys. Before we get into that, why don't you go ahead and pop over there, check out our recent episodes. We have been active. Again, we got the Acolyte finale reviews out there. We got a lot of comic stuff, JLA Avengers comic review, The Killing Joke. I thought we had something else out there too. Uncanny X-Force, that's right. So we have a few of those out recently. And we've also got our Deadpool and Wolverine non-spoiler review if you haven't seen it yet. And if you have, head on over to our full spoiler review. We covered it in depth. It was fun. And JD and Caleb were kind enough to cover San Diego Comic-Con 2024. So we got you all caught up. We've been dropping the bomb. So go ahead and give it a listen, give it a download, give it a review. And be sure to follow us on socials, IG, X, TikTok. Shout out to TikTok. We have officially broken 10,000 followers. So shout out to all you who are recent members. Shout out to you who've been there from the beginning. But that was a cool little feat. So JD's been killing it over there. Help us get to 20,000. Is that greedy?
nah.
Yeah, it's fine. All right. Well, let's get into the episode. House of the Dragon, the finale. Real quick, do a little recap, and we'll get your overall thoughts and jump into it. So we open up with Tylan Lannister treating and mud wrestling with the Triarchy. Aemon burns down an innocent city before trying to physically place Helena on Dreamfire's back. Larys grooms Aegon into taking a summer vacation to Essos until the politics die down. And Gwaine catches Kristen sniffing his sister's garments. Rhaena runs halfway across the Vale over a few nights trying to track down the sheep stealer, while Jace tries to teach Ulf some manners before training the new recruits in the art of dragon flying. Over at Harrenhal, Sir Albert shows up and instantly betrays Rhaenyra, only for Daemon to have a vision of the Song of Ice and Fire, affirming his loyalty to Rhaenyra upon her arrival. Team Black is looking stacked, and Team Green is in shambles as Alicent comes to Dragonstone and pleads for mercy and for Aegon's life, eventually offering his life to Rhaenyra. And Aemon again tries to physically place his sister on her dragon. And to end the season, we got a nice little montage of all the moving pieces on the chessboard heading over to tease us going into season 3. We'll get in all the little scenes we got at the end there because it showed us some interesting stuff and answered some questions we've actually had the entire season. We got some answers in some of those clips. So real quick, Ben, guess, go first. Not on the season as a whole, but what was your overall thoughts just for the finale?
Underwhelming for me. Solid episode, good parts of it, but just lacked that finishing punch for a season finale. Yeah, I not too upset, but I was not happy when it was over. So
Right. Not a satisfying credits roll kind of deal there.
yeah.
Love, you agree? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I was pretty disappointed. I was expecting some sort of confrontation between Green and Black, Like everything with Damon and Harrowhall was leading up to that moment, and we didn't really get that payoff. Like the visions did pay off in their way. All the visions he's having paid off, but they were just like setting it up, and I was like waiting for that battle, and it was like there's 30 minutes left. Okay, now there's 20 minutes left, and I'm like 15 minutes. Like, all right, well you ain't getting it anymore. But there was still some amazing scenes, just not finale worthy if the penultimate episode isn't a banger. Which there was some cool scenes in the penultimate episode, but not a battle or a conflict. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm with you guys. Excuse me. It was a bit disappointing. It was pretty slow. There was a point where I was bummed because I was like, man, we're really not going to get much in this episode. And I paused it and I saw, oh, we got like 30 minutes left still. Okay. You know, there might be some crazy going off at the end there. And there wasn't. If, you know, like you said about the penultimate finale 1-2 punch, Game of Thrones is known for that. And this probably was the weakest of any season of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones penultimate finale 1-2 punch. It feels like we could have done like 3 seasons of 10 episodes, 10 episode seasons, and packed a real punch instead of spreading it out to 4, because we have gotten confirmation that it will be 4 seasons now. But yeah, overall, I was pretty disappointed too. It was still good. Look, it's still great writing, great performances, the costume design, everything is always the typical solid, you know, coming out of House of the Dragon, but you know, the expectations for it did not hit. So that was a bit of a bummer. Let's get into it. Let's get into the episode as a whole. I start off with one of the more obnoxious parts of this whole episode, and that's Tyland and the Triarchy. I'm sure we were all thinking it. I have no doubt that you guys did not really enjoy this part either. I mean, if they stuck it to one scene, maybe, but he was in this like a fifth of the episode. It just kept going back to this man in the finale. So he's treating with the Triarchy. He has to best a commander of some sort to get their armada. Lohar is a character from the book. It's a male commander, so they switched it up here. And they want the Stepstones. And then later in the episode, they start mud wrestling to like see if Tyland is a worthy person to follow. I don't know. Like, I get that Essos people are eccentric and very weird and have odd culture, you know, cultural deals, but it was just kind of weird. The only thing I really got enjoying out of this was I saw a dude with blue hair, and I was like, oh, is he Tyroshi? Because we hear that, what's Danny's boy toy coming out of Marine, who fought in the fighting pits? Daharis? No, that's Serve. Dario, there you go. In the books, he's supposed to have blue hair, I'm pretty sure. I think he's like a Tyroshi type of dude. So there was a couple little Easter eggs I saw where I was like, okay, that's cool, but that's all I got. So Caleb, what did you think of Tyland's little escapades here?
I always wonder when they send an envoy, like what the king is willing to give up. You know, and then what Aemon is willing to give up in that moment. And you can tell when the negotiating starts, he's like, oh yeah, we want the Stepstones, we want to like place a tax on anyone that tries to cross it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I might be hung for this, but I guess I'll say yes. So I always wonder, like, before they go, is he like, okay, we'll give up this and this, but no, you can't touch that. But they never really say it. But, and is she a Targaryen bastard, the Lohar? She kind of has that blondish hair. It wasn't totally silver though.
I don't know. In the show, I'm pretty positive in the book there was no connection there. But that my first thought was, yeah, it did look like silver hair at first, but.
And she wants to have his kids, or she wants her wives to have his kids. So there you go.
How many wives do you have? Yeah, I don't know. Ben, what'd you think of this?
I didn't hate it. We get a Lannister down on his luck and a battle-tested woman that takes a liking to him.
That's
so
funny. Yeah.
we've seen that before. But yeah, I mean,
That's funny.
I like most of everything they've done, like changing from the book. I don't think they've done anything too crazy because Otto is the one that goes in the book.
Oh.
It's not Tyland.
Okay.
We can talk about the end scene with Otto later. But yeah, so I mean, they kind of completely went off script there a little bit, but like you said, I think it would have been a good one scene deal, not like a huge part of the episode, flashing back to it, but kind of par for the course for the rest of the episode. So
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Yeah, it was just it just didn't feel finale worthy. Like I could see this being an episode 1 and spending this much time on something like this, or but just for the finale, they went back so much, it would just felt weird. And don't look up Lohar, because I just got a spoiler for what's gonna happen in the future just by typing in Lohar and saw a major death. So that's sick.
Oh my
Always
God.
forget that I can't. Yeah, just a major death from the war that is not Essos related. Just first line. Just okay.
we got you with a spoiler, and it wasn't even me.
It's a dangerous game out there, guys. You cannot research characters from the show. You will get spoiled on stuff. You can't type their names into Google. So
Well, normally when you type their name into Google, it says death after it. It's like, nope, not the death, just the character. And still, it's risky.
right. Well, that yeah, I would have. It just said a totally different character's death and explain. It was like, what? It's not even about Lohar. Anyways, where were we? Thailand and Essos. So, yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of it, he's sailing over with this fleet coming from Essos. So I'm imagining they're going up against Corlys. I'm assuming they're going to clash with Corlys, the Valerian fleet in the Gullet there. So we'll see what happens there, but. Let's head over to Aemond and his issues. So we see this city burning, and Aemond and Vhagar sitting on top of the hill, and he's just, maniacally breathing deep, watching what he's just done, listening to the citizens scream in pain and horror. Just classic Aemond. And we keep seeing a bunch of other parts in this episode where people are mentioning it. But then he goes back to the castle, and he's just pissed that Rhaenyra has raised this army of bastards. They're all pissed. He's absolutely livid that they would tarnish the royalty of Targaryen blood and everything. He can't believe it. And he just walks in and demands Helaena to go ride Dreamfire, and when she doesn't want to, just starts physically pulling her. Like, what are you going to duct tape her to Dreamfire? She's got to be willing to ride the dragon. Like, you can't physically put her there. So that was intense. What did you guys think of that scene there with Alicent too stepping in? It was pretty wild. Love, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
bad host.
It's a quick fall from grace for Aemon because, after Rook's Rest, he's like, I just killed Rhaenys. I'm the new protector of the realm. I've been planning for this moment. You can tell the second he's protector of the realm, he has all these plans and ideas. And now it's like, okay, maybe I'm not this god among men where everything I do is the right thing and I'm so worthy of this title. So it seems like he's starting to kind of level out a little bit, especially with that talk he has with Helaena later too.
Okay, all right, that's an interpretation. I didn't get that, but I like it. Ben, what about you? What'd you take from it?
Yeah, I think he plays off the news of the dragon seeds, it doesn't bother him, but I think obviously it does because he goes straight to Helaena hey, you got to get on your dragon because we're really outnumbered now.
Right.
So I think he's just feeling the stress and the pressure, and it's getting to him for sure.
And he doesn't look great in the public eye because he didn't even get credit for Melees in the public.
Oh,
They all told King's Landing that Aegon was the one who slew Rhaenys and Melees. So, yeah, he's a pretty tough look for him right now. Now he's just known for killing innocents and killing Luke accidentally or intentionally, one or the other. But, yeah, his rep is hurting. But, I love Alicent stepping up and basically pointing out to him and the audience, because at points we've been like, he might be a good king, earlier on, he's smart, he's dedicated to the realm, he's got all these features, but Alicent was like, basically, you punish and abuse the weak because it makes you feel strong. That's not what that's literally the opposite of what a leader needs to be. That's Maegor the Cruel, that's Dany's brother, Viserys, that's a lot of other Targaryens we've seen that were not good leaders. And so I love that little scene with Alicent finally stepping up to him and kind of telling him how it is. She's disgusted with him. He was kind of the golden child in their younger years, and now she's afraid of this man. Speaking of children and being afraid, Laris walks over to Aegon, who's burned on the bed, and it's basically like, hey man, I know you're struggling, but we gotta go. Genuinely trying to go live with him, and it was a bit weird. It caught me off guard. All while Aegon's describing his cock being burned, which was just absolutely brutal. He was
my
like popped like
God.
a sausage over a fire. So it's just like, oh. And Loras keeps talking, and Aegon's response just, I can't even piss. Like he's just stuck on that aspect of this conversation.
It's too soon.
But I don't, obviously, Ben, without saying too much, I don't recall this aspect from the book at all. Does Aegon leave with somebody in the middle of this in the book?
Yeah, it's
He does.
he takes off. Little bit different circumstances, but they're kind of timeline hopping a little bit.
Okay.
Like things have already happened in the book that they haven't done in the show yet.
Okay.
And you probably didn't take too much away from this, but when he says that Sunfire is dead, like that's Sunfire plays a pivotal role in the end of the book. So
Okay.
obviously they're going to be doing something different. So I'm interested to see what they do there.
Yeah, I'm curious because there's now been two different people who have said Sunfire is dead, and I feel like it's intentionally misleading us because somebody else has said at one point that Sunfire was just messed up and couldn't like leave Rook's Rest. But Rhaenyra said it at one point, and nobody corrected her on it. She said she's Meleys slayed. Good Lord, Sunfire. We got it right there from Aegon, and Loras didn't even acknowledge the fact that he said that Sunfire is dead. So yeah, there's got to be something there. But I'm pretty confident he or she is still alive back at Rook's Rest.
Right. I think they're messing with book readers because people that know what's happening out there, this is kind of like a swerve to be like, oh, okay, maybe I don't know what's going to happen now.
Yeah,
That's a possibility too.
yeah. Which
Um,
I like.
The way he said it, and he was like confident in it. It wasn't like before we were more speculative, right? Like, oh, could be, but he was like, no, my dragon is dead. Like, so
So you think that Sunfire may actually be dead in the show right now?
yeah, because
Okay.
they're setting up to veer from the book. I feel like so I wouldn't be surprised.
I hope they do because
Yeah, we
I don't want to.
stop there, pump the brakes. Dave's had enough spoilers for one evening, so
But
Well, yeah.
it's a good plan by Loras though, because I mean Aegon's gonna leave the city. All this fighting's gonna happen. So many innocent people are gonna die, and then Aegon's gonna stroll back into town, healthier, maybe looking better, put like a little mask on him like his dad wore, and then
Hey.
just come back like this, new fresh king. Like, oh, things were so much better when you were king. Like, we need you back now. So not a bad idea.
yeah, and he lays it
Yeah.
out for him too. Like everything he says is right. Like,
Yeah.
okay, let's say we throw your brother into jail. Well, then what are you gonna do when Rhaenyra and her 7 dragons roll
Yeah,
in? And he's
exactly.
like, you're right.
Yeah. No, he's in a horrible position right now, and it didn't take too much for him. I mean, what was he calling him? Like Aegon the Peacemaker, Aegon the Reborn. He goes Aegon the Realm's Delight, which wasn't that Rhaenyra's nickname growing up. She was the Realm's
Yeah.
Delight. So was she in the series as well, or
Yeah, she
was
was.
that just a book thing? Okay, okay,
As a kid,
I was wondering.
with the younger actresses.
okay. I was gonna say I know she was in one of them, so I was wondering if they're changing it. In that regard, but interesting that he's dreaming of having his sister's title. There's got to be something there, right? Some type of therapy going on there. But let's see. I didn't think they were gonna go, so we saw the little montage at the end of them actually going off in
Yeah.
the wagon, and I was like, oh, what?
They're outta
They're
here.
actually dipping. All right, fair enough. See you guys.
Everyone's dipping on Aemon.
Yeah, yeah. I don't blame them. And again, we'll get over to another pair of people who are having. God, I don't even know how to say this. I'm speaking English absolutely
domestic
wonderfully right
disputes.
now. Yeah, well, in a way, Kristen and Gwaine. So we cut over to Kristen and Gwaine in the forest, and Gwaine pulls a sword on him because Kristen's sniffing whatever that was from Alicent, the little favor that he gave to her, or she gave to him.
I was wondering how he found out.
Yeah, she saw her little thingamajig that he was sniffing and putting up to his face there. And so Gawain calls him out, is talking about he's breaking his vows, yada yada yada, and kind of lectures him. And Kristen kind of came back. He's like, "Are they restraining from their urges, or are they just hiding it too? And all men are corrupt." And it was like, yeah, it wasn't a bad line by Kristen, but I thought it was a refreshing scene with him because he's so mentally defeated that he's not being super defensive about his own actions. He's owning up to it. Like, he's owning up, and how the dragon thing has just totally changed him, and it's kind of refreshing seeing that, just wearing who he is. What was his line? To die would be kind of a relief, don't you think?
Yeah.
Gawain's like, what the hell did I get myself into here? This guy has lost it. But I really enjoyed this scene.
Yeah, Crispin's had a lot of growth in this, or since Rook's Rest. He's a totally different person now. And he had some really great lines where he says, true honor is a mist that melts in the morning. Because, he's saying, like, if you have these desires, then just resist them. And it's like, it's easy to just say that. Like, yeah, you don't have these desires, so yeah, you can resist them because you don't have them. And he says, the dragons dance and men are dust under their feet. We're riding to our annihilation. It's like he's like, he thought he was like the,
poet.
Lord Commander of the King's Guard, like hot shit, the best knight in the Seven Kingdoms, and now he's like, I just watched dragons burn men alive, melt them in their armor. Like, I'm not anything anymore. It's kind of like what happened with Daemon, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, their egos are just being wiped out.
Yeah.
And it's very cool to see with characters who are very ego driven. So I'm liking what they're doing with both of those.
Yeah, it's the first time probably all series that I've liked or sympathized with Kristen. Like he was finally honest and true about who he was and like with himself. Like he hasn't done that the entire time, which you're like, okay, you're being real. Like it's easy to like you even if you're wrong. You're on the wrong team,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Him and Allison should just dip together, go live a life in.
Right?
Somewhere
Go sell
else.
those oranges like you were
Right?
talking
Yeah.
to
Go back to
Rhaenyra
Dora.
about. Those ships are still there. Yeah, he definitely got done with an ayahuasca retreat and came back and was just like, we're nothing. Gawain, me and you, we're nothing. We don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Good acting by Fabian, though. He's doing a solid job this season. All right, let's get into another aspect, which was super obnoxious. So we're heading over to Team Black's storylines here. And we'll start off with the most obnoxious. Well, not even obnoxious, just kind of pointless. And that's Rhaena and her storyline here. So we get 5 different scenes of her just running through the mountains. One of them, she's running and sweaty. One of them, she's insanely thirsty and is drinking from water. The other one is she's freezing and cuddling up on the ground. I mean, we're just getting bits and pieces for 30 seconds at a time. It just felt weird. I'll say my piece after. Ben, what'd you think of Rhaena and Sheep Stealer here?
Yeah, I rewatched it today and I took notes. It was 4 times, and each scene was literally 5 or 6 seconds. It was
Dude. Why?
just so unnecessary. Yeah. One for a season finale, but in any episode in general, just I don't know. Again, it's a small part, but why? Why would you do that?
That's the point. Yeah.
And then you keep thinking okay, she's gonna hop on the dragon. She's gonna hop on the dragon. Oh, we don't even get that. So.
God.
That was so obnoxious.
I don't know
That
exactly
was-
what her plan was either, or why no one's looking for her. They just oh, where'd she go? I guess we'll just carry on now. She's out of here.
Not like she was part of a huge party. There was
Yeah.
less than 10 people total.
And a very
so-
important part of that party too.
Yeah.
Probably the most
Rhaenyra
important.
tasked her with the future of House Targaryen. She literally said, should this go awry, you will have our future in your hands. And she
Yeah.
said, all right, bet. I'm going to chase after this dragon in these mountains and leave
I'd
the
like a
kids
dragon,
behind.
actually.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. Love, how you like this? Was this riveting for you?
Well, episode 7, she had that one 10-second scene. We didn't even talk about it in the episode. We just skipped right over it because it was
Why?
so pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't get it, and I would have liked to see her. It was cool at the end getting that shot of Sheep Stealer looking up and roaring at her from across the field, but
Yeah.
I guess Team Black got enough dragons this season. They had to kind of wait to get one more next season.
I guess,
I
but
guess.
that's where my head was at with this. I was thinking, why in the world could this not have gone hand in hand with last episode? Like, you could have cut between Hugh and Ulf and their dragon training thing, and then you can show us 7 seconds of Rhaena running through the mountains, and then cut back to Dragonstone where they're taming, and then show her whatever the deal is. But like, that could have worked out perfectly where they intertwined those two things happening, and by the end of the episode, Hugh has his dragon, Ulf has his dragon, and maybe we just see the scene we just saw right there with Rhaena and Sheepstealer. And then in the montage at the end of this episode, we see Rhaena flying on Sheepstealer towards Harrenhal, and that's how it ends. But I don't get showing one tiny glimpse of it last episode and then 5 or 4, 5-second deals, and then not even showing her tame it. So I just thought they did it wrong. And I'm a show writer, so I can say these things. But yeah, I just thought it was goofy.
She should have flown the dragon back to the Vale and been like, okay, you want a dragon rider to protect your keep? Here I am.
Yeah. Or I just did what you wanted because this was the dragon you were actually afraid of, and now I just tamed it. So you're fine. You're
2 for
welcome.
1.
Yeah. Ugly, though. Sheepstealer is ugly as hell. Looks straight out of a nightmare. Like, that is an unpleasant-looking dragon. The
Wild
wings,
dragon.
too, like, had these horns coming well off of the wings itself. Like, it was a very unique design. Yeah. All right, real quick, we get Corlys a little bit action here. He's talking to Rhaenyra, reminding her of Dreamfire. And even though Helena's not a writer, he's like, yeah, Dreamfire's formidable, though. He's 95 years old or whatever. Excuse me. She's been around. She's seen some battle. So that was a nice little reminder to Rhaenyra. But the coolest part, of course, was he named his ship. The ship used to be called the Sea Snake. He says it was named to my own glory, but no more. He names it the Queen Who Ever Was, which is a play on words to the Queen Who Never Was, Rhaenys. And he says everything he does will be for her now. So I love this. I don't know, Ben, what do you think of Corlys's deal here?
Yeah, it was a nice little heartfelt scene, and kind of the opposite of what happened to him later on.
Yeah,
in
talk
this
about that. Go
episode.
for it.
I mean,
Yeah.
he got tried to dismiss Alan twice, and he was like, "No, I'm gonna keep shitting on you because you haven't given me a second thought my whole life, but now you need me." So
Yeah,
it was a good balance, though, for him, I guess.
for sure. Yeah, he tried to get him out of there multiple times. All right, you're dismissed. We're done here. He's like, oh, no, you wanted me to talk. That's fine. We'll talk. That was kind of sick. Good for Alan. 30 years off of his chest there.
The thing I got
yeah.
from that first scene was Corlys talking about the High Towers are marching from Old Town. That was the quick little line thrown in. I know we see it at the end, them marching, but it's like, okay, they are the High Towers, and they are going to Harrenhal as well.
Yeah, he even mentioned the sun and the dragon.
That was the dragon we
Darren.
saw.
I don't know if he said Darren's name, but he said there's a Targaryen, and Rhaenyra said, well, he's young and unproven. She said, okay, it's still a dragon, though.
Yeah,
that
I
was
think
what we
he-
saw at the end.
I think he brought him up by name, and then we see Tessarion at the end, who's supposed to be like the most, like, by far beautiful dragon out of all of them.
Yeah.
So that was kind
Right,
of cool.
like glittering purple and gold and stuff. I forget
like,
exactly, but
I think like purple and like bright blue.
yeah.
And I'm assuming they still haven't cast him yet. That's why we
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I think Lub called that we wouldn't get introduced to him until season 3. We briefly saw him on Dragonback, but yeah, not cast. So Lub called that, and Lub called something else we'll talk about later. But
Corlys and Alan, that
Yeah.
was wild. And he says, you remember me now that your kids are dead. Like, I had to grow up watching your Trueborn heirs have this pampered life while I was scraping for coppers in the fish market, like doing dirty work, knowing that I am your son. And now that they're all dead, your wife's dead, it's like, now you want to have us in your life. It was just so real. And I felt bad for Corlys in a sense, like, because it's hard to bring your bastard children into court, into your keep in this, Game of Thrones world. And he does genuinely, I feel like he does feel bad for what he did. but it's just
Yeah.
too late now.
Oh yeah, you could tell there's the look on his face and his emotions. Like each word was just like striking him a little more. I think obviously that was why he was trying to dismiss him, but
Yeah.
Right.
you can tell he definitely feels bad, which is also why he's trying to help and like
Yeah.
overly correct that. I don't think it's just to help out in the battle, but
Right.
yeah.
It's not coming from a place of loyalty per se, but more so guilt and trying to redeem himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I like the way they're writing it. I have a feeling, again, this isn't a spoiler, I don't know, but I have a feeling he's going to die in battle on his ship next season. It's because a lot of people are going to die. They're clashing with the Triarchy, so there's going to be some stuff going down. And they don't have a dragon, but
When you looked up the Lohar character, I figured
No,
that was the
it
death
wasn't
you saw.
him.
Okay.
nope, no, unrelated, totally unrelated. I don't know
wow.
why that death was
Okay,
brought
yeah,
up. That's why I was
weird,
like, what
man.
the
That's
hell?
really weird.
Like,
I got a good idea of what it is, but
okay.
I don't want to
They
say
must-
it, and then it's
Don't
someone
say it,
else.
don't
And
say it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll throw it to you after the episode, and you can just say yes or no. If that's
yeah,
what you're
thumbs
thinking
up,
of,
thumbs
but
down.
They might. Yeah. Maybe low heart travels. But anyway, well, let's get over to the fun side. Well, God. Okay, Team Black. We're with Jace at Dragonstone, and he overhears people talking, and it's Hugh and Ulf. And Hugh's insisting they get outside to train, and Ulf's got his feet up on the queen's table, and just wants more chicken and is drinking. And dude, Ulf.
He needs to go.
I mean, I don't know if there's ever been a time that I've turned so quickly from this guy's dope to all right, kill him, get him out. like this dude's a liability. He's not worth having on Team Black. I think you don't trust a moron with a nuclear bomb. Kill him. Like he is not ready for this responsibility. Hugh's like trying to talk sense into him. He's ignoring him. Jace walks up. He goes, "Oh yeah," like talks trash to him until Hugh says like, "This is Prince Jace Targaryen." And how do you not know that, first off? So I thought he was playing stupid. And then he gets up and he's like, "Oh, my apologies." He's pissing me off, though. I'm glad Jace told him off, got him to kind of snap out of it. But my goodness.
And he doesn't have his feet up on just the Queen's table. He has his feet up on Aegon the Conqueror's table, who created that to, take over the Seven Kingdoms when he arrived on Dragonstone. Like, this is just wild.
Bro.
And when Hugh says he lives here, when he's like, "Who is this?" And he's like, "He's the prince. He lives here. Like, this is his house." And then he says, "You and I are cut from the same cloth. Like, hey, you're a bastard, I'm a bastard." Like, just what Jace was worrying about. The first line from this guy, like, oh my god. And then Jace is like, "We'll have you hanged." Like, he's getting all fucking pissed off.
Dude.
Yeah, and he talks about like, "Oh, your hair's as dark as it says." Like,
Yeah.
again, saying like, "Okay, you're clearly not."
Like, hey, my hair is more Targaryen than yours. Would you look at that? It's just as dark as they say. Like, dude, you are
Yeah.
just asking to get stabbed right now. I don't know what you're doing.
Which is probably the only ad lib, I guess, from the book that's like, I get they're expanding on Ulf and Hugh, but they're when they find them, they're not in King's Landing. Like, they both live on Dragonstone, and like again,
Interesting.
it's Jace's idea for the whole dragon seed thing, so there's no animosity or conflict between them. He's not sulking. Like, he's really happy when it happens because it was his idea and they have more dragon
Right.
riders. So
Right.
I kind of
Like,
like this more, though. 'Cause
well,
kinda-
it makes sense for how slow they're going. Like,
Right,
Well, add some
like,
drama.
you have to expand on that kind of stuff to
right.
fill time. So
Yeah, exactly. It's just
Ulf
it's
just needs to
kinda-
read the room. Like, read the room, man. Like, these people are about to go to battle for their legacy, their lives, and you're just drinking, eating, feet up, making jokes.
two
Like,
more birds.
Yeah, you guys
Dude.
need, he says, "You guys need to get a sense of humor." Like, fuck off.
Bro, like that's the thing. It's not even just like he was being ignorant before he realized who Jace was. Dude, Queen Rhaenyra walks in and he's still cracking jokes, ordering more drinks, and she's being way more polite than she needs to be, but I guess she doesn't want to. You're walking on eggshells. You need these guys, unfortunately, and they're the reason why you have an upper hand in this massive war for your rights. So I get it, but somebody's got to slap him or something. Like, she at one point she says, "I'll make you guys knights if you serve well." and he's still being a punk. And she's like, you know, you should probably get some manners. When you're at the queen's table, you'll act with, you know, dignity. And he goes, best make me a knight then. Like, bro, there's no way you just said that. Like, at that point was when I was like, it's not worth it. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him.
Yeah, it seems like
Way
him
too
and,
much of a
him
liability.
and Adam have a little bit of beef, so maybe Adam will put him in his place.
Yeah, because Adam's probably sitting there too, like, "Hey, shut up, man. We're all grateful for this opportunity. Like, you're making us look bad. You're a moron. It's uncomfortable. I just, ooh."
When
he
he's
drives
done
me
like
nuts.
everything right in Rhaenyra's eyes so far, like anything she's asked, he's done. Like he's the
Which-
one she takes with her to
Exactly.
Harrenhal. So
Yep. She didn't even think for a second. She said, "Adam, fly with me." Like immediately was like, "Yep, you're my guy." Our first encounter, you bent the knee, like, and he's flying her, you know,
Smart
her
choice.
late husband's dragon. But yeah, no, Adam's definitely the star recruit right now. Hugh will get there. I think
yeah.
Jace saw with Hugh. Jace didn't give Hugh any crap. He got in, you know, he overheard Hugh saying, "We need to get out and train. Like, we're supposed to be here training." So Hugh will be up there too, but Ulf scares me. I just have a really bad feeling about him.
Yeah.
And it makes me second guess last episode that Rhaenyra actually sent him to King's Landing. Now I feel like that was more of an uncontrollable joyride, and then he ended up going back to Dragonstone when Aemon and Vhagar chased him. Like, I'm starting to doubt that he actually followed orders and did that. So I don't know. We got a little bit of Bela. Ben, what do you think of the Bela character here? So she kind of gives Jace the speech he needs to suck it up. You know, it doesn't befit a prince to pout. You think you're the first bastard prince. So what do you think of her in comparison to her presence in the book? I'm not sure how much she's in it, but
it's about the same. Like she's not a major character, obviously, but she's like on a short list of people that's consistently solid throughout everything. You know, everyone else has their moments where they're like fucking up pretty bad, and she's just doesn't have those. Like she tells Jace, like, stop sulking, like you are the son of the queen. You have nothing to like be sad about. Like, snap out of it. But I feel like she's always we touched on last time I was on about how she was like side counseling with Rhaenyra too, and
yeah,
she's super solid.
There she is. I mean, she's the kid of. It's Damon's kid, right? Yeah, they're Damon's
Yeah.
Daemon
kids.
and Lena.
It's
Yeah.
weird because Damon's like not in their life at all. You don't think of Damon as their father. I think of Corlys and Rhaenys more as their parents than
Right.
Damon. And
Yeah.
Well,
Well, if you
Well,
think
for a
if you
reason.
think back, like he was when they were all together as a family. Like we saw glimpses of him like being a dad. That was kind of like the first time we saw a different side of him. I was like, oh, okay, Damon.
That's right.
So-
That's right.
Teaching her Valerian, and but that's also when Rhaena was like, "Dad never spends that time with me because I don't have a dragon yet," and he's ashamed, and he spends all his time with Bela teaching her Valerian, but you know he doesn't do stuff with me, so I'm a loser. And look at me now, I got Sheep Stealer, almost died in the mountains, but we got
Yeah,
him.
well, maybe her daddy issues got her a dragon, so things
There
come
you
full
go.
circle.
There you go. You got to give up something to get a dragon. Aemon lost his eye. Well, that might be the only example.
Aegon lost his cock.
That's true, but he did already have his dragon.
And his
That-
dragon, maybe, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
God, tough look for Aegon. Probably shouldn't have had children fighting to the death in the fighting pits when you were younger. Karma catches up there, Aegon.
But yeah, Bela is super
Yeah.
clutch because she says, "Prove to them that you are worthy." So it's like
Mm-hmm.
if you prove to everyone that you are this amazing heir, the best prince, like what he basically has been doing for this season, no one will deny it. Like you'll be the right choice to succeed her, and if you're the right choice, you're a good person, you're a good ruler. They're not going to be like, "Oh, he's a bastard, he can't do it," you know.
right. Yeah. Just
And she-
you have
she
the
kinda-
opportunity.
She touches on, like, you're not the first bastard that's been in line for the throne. Like,
Right. This is
A lot
happened
of-
before.
there's been a lot of sleeping around by the Targaryens, so,
A little bit.
yeah.
A little bit. Yeah, I'm looking forward to their action next season. Let's get into Harrenhal, the juiciest part of this episode. So super funny. They're going through. Damon's got his army. They're free. This was small talk, but I just love how they're like, they accidentally sent pigs instead of goats, and Damon's like, that's perfect. Caraxes actually prefers pigs. Like, I don't know, it's a tiny little detail, but I enjoyed that. And Sir Albert shows up, and man, is it Alfred? I have it both in my notes. I have one as a Sir Albert and one as a Sir Alfred.
Ben?
Now I gotta
Alfred.
look it up. Dang it. Dang it.
Alfred Broom.
Don't read any further. You might get another freaking random death. Okay.
Yeah.
Classic Alfred.
So Sir Alfred shows up, and yeah, Caleb, pretty sure it was you who called this. We were talking about him getting sent off to Harrenhal, and I was like, he's loyal to Team Black. I think, he's a solid guy. He may not handle it best. And you go, yeah, I think he's going to immediately turn sides to Damon. Instantly, within 10 seconds, he's like, yeah, so I don't trust your wife, and I don't want to follow her, but we need a guy. You should lead instead.
Yeah, right.
And
he's like, hey, come over here. Come over here. Talk to me in the corner. And say
can we
something
talk
real private.
away from people?
Yeah. He's like, and Damon's like, I never took you for a turn cloak. And I thought, like, I wonder what's going to happen to him now that Damon kind of basically bent the knee to Rhaenyra. He's going to be like, this guy came here and basically tried to fuck you over, so probably take him out.
The camera lingered on him during that kneeling scene, and I was just like, oh, you probably feel like
Yeah,
such a
he's like,
jackass
oh,
right now. Like, you gotta feel so stupid right now.
Oh, yeah.
Part of me was thinking that Damon, small part of me, I was like, Damon might just cut this dude's head off right now.
Yeah.
Right after he just said that thing about Rhaenyra, you need to lead. I was kind of waiting for it. I wouldn't have been 100% surprised if he just straight up, what was his name? Vaemonded him and cut his face in half. But yeah, man, but so Alice leads Daemon into the Godswood before Rhaenyra shows up, and this is pretty wild. Before we get to this vision, I wanted to know if you guys saw that creature that scuttered behind the tree right
That was
before he walked over there. It was like a goat-human hybrid, like with antlers, kind of.
It's like the,
What was that?
It's like
It's
the, oh, go ahead.
it's the Green Men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you think it was a Green Man?
Yeah.
Or one of the Green Men? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I know Children of the Forest was
So
one
that's
theory
what I was
out
gonna
there. Green Men was the other one. So
kinda
Ben, you
like
pretty
the-
familiar with Green Men?
Not really, but the Children of the Forest created the Green Men, so
Right.
that's the similarities, obviously.
To fight the
right.
Andals when
Yeah.
they came over to Westeros, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and the Isle of Faces is like right there next to Harrenhal. So
True.
I didn't
And-
realize that until I saw a map today, and it's like literally the closest thing to Harrenhal.
It's
So,
right there.
Yeah.
Okay. And the antlers thing, I do recall something with antlers and green men, so that it might be that more because we've seen the Children of the Forest. They didn't have antlers like that. They had like plants growing out of their heads, but it wasn't antlers, and that was clearly antlers on the top of that figure's head. So super interesting. It goes behind the tree, and Alice leads him over to to the tree, and Daemon puts his hand on it, and we get this vision, and this was wild. So we get White Walkers. We get dead dragons, carnage, and death everywhere. A Targaryen-looking three-eyed raven. Now, before we get to the rest of the vision, I've thoughts on this because at first I was like, is that Daenerys the Dreamer who had the vision of Valyria? Is that the Blood Raven? But in the book, the Blood Raven is male.
That wasn't a dude?
It looked like a female to me, but it's hard to tell sometimes. with
I thought it
Targaryens
was
and
a
their hair.
female.
Because I thought it was like his mom at first with
you're right.
birthmarks on her face or something, but I don't think it was. But it could be the Blood Raven. Ben, are you familiar with Blood Raven at all?
I'm not. No.
Okay. So he's a bastard son of Aegon IV. He's pretty prevalent during the Blackfyre Rebellion. He's a Targaryen loyalist. He ends up getting sent to the Wall, and all the word around Westeros is he's got this weird sorcery to him, this mysticism. Like, people think he can perform the dark arts, and he's got this weird deal to him. He ends up getting sent to the Wall, and then he ends up going north of the Wall and disappears, and he becomes a three-eyed raven. So there's a really cool backstory to
From Game of
him.
Thrones. That's the one from Game
Yeah,
of Thrones.
that's still him in
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, the guy who's still in the tree, that's him. So he's been there for 1,000 years, not 1,000, but hundreds of years as the three-eyed raven. And so that's why I was thinking, like, that's got to be Bloodraven. If during this time the three-eyed, no, he wouldn't have even been the three-eyed raven yet, actually, because the Blackfire Rebellion hasn't happened yet.
It's like 60, 70 years.
Yeah, so I don't know who that figure is, but it's a three-eyed raven of some sort. We saw a literal three-eyed raven briefly, and then we see the comet shooting across the sky that we saw in Game of Thrones, dragon eggs that we obviously are very familiar with, followed by the iconic scene of Dany sitting in the ash as 3 dragons are born. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones for some reason, that's what that's from. Go watch it now. And before we get to Rhaenyra and Helena, though, what'd you guys love? What'd you think of these visions here? Did it get you going? Did you think it was pandering? What'd you think of it?
It was pandering. It was fan service, but it was a payoff for what Damon's been doing this entire season. This
True.
was what made him, be subservient to Rhaenyra. What made him bend the knee to her, and then you see Rhaenyra sitting on the throne too. That was the end of their vision, where he sees Rhaenyra sitting on the throne, and it was like, and then he realizes that he's this tiny part in this giant story where, he saw the future, he saw what goes on, and I didn't think the White Walker looked very good though. I didn't think the CGI on the White Walker was up to Game of Thrones original season status. It looked a little
Rushed, more
little-
CGI than practical, right?
Mhm,
That's
yeah.
kind of what I thought. Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay. Ben, did you think it was pandering or did you enjoy it?
Both.
Alright.
It was my favorite scene from this episode. Not saying
Same.
it was saying a lot. It shouldn't have been in a season finale. But yeah, I thought it was cool just seeing all of that kind of transpire, going through the years, and then obviously it affected Damon a lot. We see afterwards, like,
Yeah.
very much so resonated with him. But I thought I took it as kind of like an attempt to correct the end of Game of Thrones, in a sense of, like, it's the princess that was promised. Like you said, the bleeding star that's in the prophecy, and then it shows Dany. So, like, yeah, she was supposed to rule on the throne. So
but she technically did fulfill the prophecy of defeating the White Walkers. Isn't that what the
technically,
prophecy is?
yeah, but there's supposed to be a reign afterwards.
Right.
Of
Someone
peace.
who has to sit on
So
the throne while it's happening around.
that's why I think it was not, kind of like hey, we messed, or they messed up in the Game of Thrones
Right.
finale.
I mean, she kind of was the reason, but she kind of wasn't. She's the reason why the Night King was even able to pass the wall, because of her dragon. Without that dragon, they wouldn't have been able to get past the wall. And then Arya was the one who actually killed the Night King. So it is in a way, but they just wrote it so poorly that it didn't even really make her the savior and the reason why they survived too. Like, they somehow wrote it in such a way that it fulfilled and butchered the prophecy in ways. It's just I don't know.
No, yeah, for sure. I think
it's
that's
just-
what I'm saying.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
scene was like an attempt to, like,
Like a clean start with it.
trying, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it did feel that way too. I know I talked to my buddy Connor Noonan was talking about it. He's like, does it feel like they're trying too hard to connect to stuff we're familiar with and almost kind of pandering to the fans with that vision? I was like, yeah, a little bit, but I still enjoyed it. Yeah, a little bit of that. And I was kind of thinking the bodies he's walking over, maybe that's the Blackfire Rebellion, but it easily could be Robert's Rebellion or whatever led to Dany being born and all that stuff. I don't know. It could have been a number of things. Lots of people die in Westeros between now and the White Walkers, but it was super interesting. I like the way it was shot, and as you said, Lub, I think I agree with that most. It felt like a payoff to the waste of time we've had with Daemon at Harrenhal this whole season. Like, at least we got that. We got some closure. We got a reason for him tripping balls for 6 episodes at least. He's got more assurance in what he's doing now. But no, it was a cool scene. I enjoyed it. But at the end, so Rhaenyra does have the crown, but then it's Helena. Helena's talking to Daemon and is saying, you've seen, yada yada. You know that you play a much smaller role than you thought in a much larger picture. So that was very interesting. I like they connect it to, he was pissed that Rhaenyra was told about the Song of Ice and Fire from Viserys. He started choking Rhaenyra when he found out about that. and now he knows of it too. So now he's come full circle to that. Maybe that part of his spite is gone. But we went from Helena talking directly to him to Helena looking the exact same, looking out over King's Landing, and Aemon walks up to her. And so was she force timing with him? Like, was she active in that conversation? Because she's a green seer.
The overlap of her talking, like, it's not a vision or a dream. Like, she's real time talking to him during that.
Yeah, that's how I got that too. Okay,
Yeah.
so that
The
was
chosen one.
interesting. She is the chosen one, bro.
She's Aegon the Conqueror reborn. If you really had, vision.
Well, she's had
Azor Ahai?
moments. She's had moments that have, like, you've seen that, right? Like,
She's
throughout.
Yeah.
foreshadowed so many times.
Yeah,
so
she's a
many
green
things.
seer.
Yeah.
Like, 8 or 9 different things. Like, she calls out stuff. And there's rumors that she's a green seer in Fire and Blood. It's just never confirmed, but they talk about certain things she sees or have said. But yeah, so we get right into Aemon walking out to her and again asking. And she turns around and is like, what are you going to do? You're going to burn me like you burned Aegon? He's like, that's a lie. She's like, I saw it. So we're just like, are you Bran? Are you able to, like, see, like, things going on, like, outside? Obviously she is if she saw that happen. So, or she saw it in the past as something that was going to happen in the future, and then Aegon came back burned, and she was like, oh, he did it. But super interesting, and Aemon was definitely shook. Because, you know, what's he thinking right now? Like, how the hell does she know I did that? He doesn't know she's a green seer.
Right. I think this was my favorite scene from the episode. I mean,
With Aemon and Helena?
yeah. I mean, the
Oh, okay.
the Harrenhal thing was dope. I think right after it, just her like prophetic way she says things. Like she's like looking off in the distance, but like you know it's true. And the way Aemon was reacting, like, oh my god, like she knows everything. Where she says, you know, Aegon sits on the throne, and you'll be dead. And he's you know,
God's eye.
swallowed in the God's eye, which I don't know what happens there, but George Martin
I
said
do,
that is the
unfortunately.
scene he is most looking forward to seeing on screen. So some crazy shit happens, and that's the Isle of Faces is the God's eye. So that's kind of tying in with Damon's vision as well of what's going on around there. And he says, I could have you killed for that. And she says, it wouldn't change a thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's still, even if I die, your destiny is still set in stone.
That you're right. That was a solid scene. And that, so I'm not going to go into detail, but that was the one thing I was talking to you, Ben, about. I was like, I think there's one thing I think could happen at the end of the season, possibly. And I was briefly referencing Aemon's face off at the God's Eye, so I won't say anything more about it, but I do know what happens there at the God's Eye between him and somebody.
I don't know at all.
Was kind of hoping we were going to get something close to that for this finale, but we obviously did not. So now I'm thinking that's going to be like a season 3 finale, which kind of sucks, but we'll see.
I thought too that was what when Damon was like walking over the bodies and fell into the water. I thought that's what that was. Like he was
Okay.
seeing that.
Yeah, could be.
so-
It makes more sense than the Blackfire Rebellion, to be honest. He wasn't really
Yeah.
involved in that.
But yeah, it was cool how she's just like, well, Aegon will be king again. You will die, and I know you tried to kill him. And he's just like,
Shook.
yeah.
What do you say to that? Like,
I think
Yeah,
too.
no.
If she didn't like once she said she knew what he did to Aegon, and then said the other two, I think he probably got a little worried. Like, well, she knows that this happened, and she wasn't there, so these two things are probably
Yeah.
true as well.
yeah. Dude, absolutely. So yeah, this was definitely the high point of the episode. We got this, and then we got Rhaenyra showing up, which was an extension of a really cool part of the episode that I liked, at least. I love, so Rhaenyra pulls up with Adam on Sea Smoke. Dude, I love Caraxes' sound design. The weird screech and cry that kind of falters and echoes out like she sees the dragons come. I just love the sound design behind Caraxes. It's super unique, eerie. Rhaenyra shows up. For some reason, parks Cyrax at the very bottom of this massive staircase and then starts slowly walking up. Like, he probably get dropped off at the top there, Rhaenyra. And Simon's like, hey, you need to get here. He basically ratted on Daemon. Simon's such a little G. But this was tense. I love this. We get Rhaenyra and Daemon back at it. The last scene they had together was great, whether it was episode 2 or 3, I forget. They picked up right where they left off with another really tense standoff scene, and I love this. Ben, what do you think of this standoff and Damon's actions here?
Yeah, it was. I liked how they were speaking to each other in High Valerian.
Yeah.
And yeah, it
Always
was.
love that.
I was probably. I tied that in with his vision too as like my favorite scene, just because it was kind of close enough together.
Yeah.
And then when he does his little pregame speech to everyone at the end, I was like, okay, let's go. Like, yeah, we got Damon back, so it was good. It was a good scene.
Straight up. Love.
My first thought was Harrenhal looks lively again. Like there's actually people. There's it's not just an empty wasteland. So I like that. And you see Cyrax peeking through the ceiling. When Rhaenyra
Yeah.
Cyrax comes up and peeks through. That was sick. Like
Watching
checking
her.
out my girl, making sure nothing crazy happens. So that was dope. And when they're speaking High Valyrian, Daemon says winter is coming.
Yes.
Which is, of course, the word of the Starks, but also like the whole point of A Song of Ice and Fire.
Right.
And she says, "You sound like my father," which is kind of like talking about Aegon's prophecy when in that moment, like my father said something about that, and it was a very big secret no one else knows.
I remember you choked me when I brought it up that one time.
Right. Oh my god. She's we need someone who can unite, and my brother chose you. And
That was
until
sick.
death or the end of our story. Like, and as that saying end of our story also ties in with that vision where like, yeah, my story is not the whole story. Like it's just a piece of it.
Dude, that line it gave me chills. It gave me chills hearing you say it again there, because you don't know what he was gonna say. I mean, I had a better feeling after he saw the vision, but we still don't know 100% for sure. But yeah, when he says the only hope the realm has is uniting under one leader, he seems hesitant about it, like he's gonna break the news that he thinks it has to be him, and then he says, "And my brother chose you," and it was just like massive relief, just massive gasp of air, just attaboy Daemon. I got up, I clapped a little. I was like, Daemon, we're back.
Fist bump
We're
in the
back,
finger.
even though it's the end of the season and now we have to wait 2 more years to finally see you back. That part's very frustrating. That was my only issue with this scene, is like, God, I wish we got it mid-season so we could have seen something come from this and not wait 2 years. But everybody in the castle kneeled except for Simon. For some reason, he stayed standing in the back. He's like, I ain't getting down like that. But man, what a scene! All right, any last thoughts on that before I move on?
No?
After
Besides-
time, move it. Whoa.
Big army for though. Damon, big army. He's got a lot
They're
of
ready.
lot of homies.
The Riverlands, dude, all of them. The Lords of the Riverlands brought their people, and they are ready to go. All right, so we get Rhaenyra back on Dragonstone. Mysera's talking to her about staying committed or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. But Alicent shows up, and we get Alicent pulling a Rhaenyra, sneaking in. And my first thought is, Alicent, if it was too late like a month ago and many deaths ago, how is it not too late right now? What are you doing? So she drove me nuts in this scene. I get, like, she's there to, like, plead for her life, essentially, and be like, this is a mistake, I need to get out of this, yada yada. But every time Rhaenyra mentions something wrongdoing she does, she gets super defensive and like deny. It's like, dude, you need to own up to some mistakes here if you're trying to find any middle ground here. Like, every time Rhaenyra pointed out something, Alicent got super defensive. It's like, all right, you're kind of acting like a child if your point risking your life here is to preserve the life of your kid and you. Like, maybe just own up to some stuff. I don't know. She was driving me freaking nuts. But Lub, how'd you like this scene?
Yeah, Alicent was basically like, Rhaenyra, I fucked up. Like, I fucked up big time. Like, I'm so sorry for what happened. But she says, like, I thought I was doing the right thing for my kids and my husband. And she says, Viserys is talking about Viserys' first wife, Rhaenyra's mom, like the love for her that kept him resolute in his choice in heir. And Rhaenyra goes, yet you think he changed his mind at the last second? So it's
Yeah.
like, you think you're doing the right thing, but then she says this, and it's like, how, like, you weren't. You were trying to, you wanted your kid to be king in the moment. Like, you were against Rhaenyra because she had bastard sons. She was off with Daemon at the same time. Like, you didn't,
Yeah.
you're playing both sides here. So
That part pissed me off when she was like trying to get brownie points for being like, your father never had any doubts about you. It's like,
Yeah.
we're in
You
this
did.
mess because you said he did. You don't get to say that now and make it seem like it's a nice thing you're saying to her. Like, you don't get that. Calm down, everybody. Calm down. Ben, how'd you like this little interaction there?
I thought it would have been a good spot for a finisher at the season finale instead of this, because it doesn't happen in the book, right? And
Right.
again, I like it. I get it. Rhaenyra took the chance, went there. Allison's coming now, kind of doing the same deal.
It's poetry.
But yeah,
and
she's
rhymes.
like playing both sides and kind of like, we have paths set before us and we just follow what we think is right. And like, you just gotta admit you were wrong. And I will say my favorite part of it was at the end, and she's like, all right, son for a son. And then you're
Choose.
just like, what she's gonna choose, even though she's like struggling with it for a second. Like, well, we know what she's about to choose, so.
Right. Which, by the way, I don't understand how that works. I don't know how you're going to sign an agreement, son for a son contract, as if you can just deliver Aegon. And, like, Aemond is the king
Well-
right now, so how is that going to work out smoothly?
Yeah, well, I think they're assuming, like, once he flies off that, I don't know, I guess that he's not going to come back or something.
Squatters' rights on the throne or something?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but then obviously Allison doesn't know that Aegon left, so she thinks he's
Right.
just going to be crippled lying in bed, so pretty easy to just hand him
Yeah.
over.
Let him
That-
cut his head off.
That was
Show it
super
to King's Landing.
super interesting plan by Allison, though, because it like, from our perspective as the audience, it's like, yeah, like Aemon will be in Harrenhal fighting all these people. You could just go to King's Landing and take it over, but Rhaenyra
Change
can't
the locks.
trust. She can't trust Allison in this moment and be like,
Hell no.
because she's just gonna walk up to King's Landing and Aemon's gonna be sitting on top of the Red Keep on top of Vagar and be like, oh well, maybe not then. Like, so, but it was she should have done it. Like, this would be a very clean way to get to the throne. Just have Aemon like hopefully die when he fights everyone at Harrenhal, and then whoever comes back, Rhaenyra's just chilling on the throne waiting. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that was just my only issue with it, was we had this big impactful conversation and making this deal, and I'm just sitting here going, I don't understand how you're going to make that work, though. I don't see how you execute this little deal you just pulled off. But
Yeah, and even Rhaenyra says, like, I have to take Aegon's head for all to see. Like, I can't just do this peacefully and let Aegon, go off on his side, because there will always be that question of the real king is out there somewhere and this pretender is sitting on the throne. So he has to die, and everyone has to see that I conquered this throne.
And this was a parallel to season 1, when Otto is talking to Alicent, and he's saying, you can't live peacefully with Rhaenyra out there. If Rhaenyra becomes the queen, she will take your children's head. You must know this. Like, she is going to have to kill your kids if she becomes queen. This is why we must do this, and she can't be king. She has to. It's going to be the only thing that threatens her right. You have to understand she will kill your kids. And now we get to the point where it's actually like, well, yeah, that is true now. She is going to kill Aegon because of what has happened. But so there were a couple things during these lines that paralleled back to conversations from season 1. So that part was interesting. The acting was great by Olivia Cook and Emma D'Arcy. But yeah, it was just for a finale climax.
There was one line, though, that I thought was like a big nod to Fire and Blood, where Rhaenyra says, history will paint you a villain. So, like, because this whole Fire and Blood book is perspectives from Maesters and Mushroom
Yeah.
and whoever else in the future. Or Mushroom was there for all the accounts, of course. He was there firsthand. Everything he says
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah, everything.
But it is that's how it is in the books. Like the victors write the history. So
Right.
if you do this, you will be painted a villain.
Yep. All right, so pretty lackluster climax, but we ended off with a season-ending montage. A lot happened here, so I'm just going to say each little shot, and if you got something to say on it, ring your little buzzer. If you don't, we'll move on. But first, we see the Hightower army marching with Daeron Targaryen and Tessarion flying over the army. So that was a dope little shot, which I guess we kind of already talked about them. Next, we saw the Starks marching across the Twins, which was dope. The Greybeards coming down that Cregan Stark promised to Jace, and then the opening scene, I think, of this season. So that was cool to see the Stark banner marching over the bridges at the Twins, because, you know, we wanted to see that in season 1 of Game of Thrones, but Rod had to go and break his vows and marry a nurse, and it didn't exactly end up that way. So it was nice seeing Stark banners marching across peacefully across those bridges. It was cool to see that successfully happen.
Well, they got through the first time. It's when they went
Yes.
back.
Yes, it was to go back. You're right. Okay. We got the Lannisters coming towards the Riverlands. They're all geared up and ready to go. We see Daemon walking out, looking upon his army in the tents. Like Lub said earlier, big army. He's got a lot of people out there, so it was cool having Daemon looking across. They are looking stacked. Thailand sailing with the Triarchy to clash with the Valerian fleet, as we discussed earlier. Rhaena, yet again, just running in this montage, but she actually stumbled across Sheepstealer at the end here, spitting out a dead sheep. And again, this is where we see Sheepstealer finally in its glory. And then, boom, Otto Hightower in a prison cell somewhere, looking real raggedy, looking really like Jaime Lannister from the early episodes when the Starks catch him. He is not looking too clean. He's not looking too happy. So do you guys have any theories on who has him right now? Do you think it's House Beesbury, like they were talking about? House Beesbury was kind of revolting because they killed Lord Beesbury at the small council table? Or any other theories?
It almost looked like he was on a ship. The way, like, it looked like he was like moving with the motion of the ocean in the cell.
just
I have to watch
drunk.
it again, but
Oh.
and-
Yeah, me too.
no, but I don't know who has him, because what's on the way from King's Landing to Old Town? That's a long way. That's not
It's a long way.
It's a long trip down there, so anyone could have taken him.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with that. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but it's not how it happens in the book, right? He's at this point, he's the hand,
Okay.
and he goes. Thailand is not the one that went. He went to go secure the
Right.
fleet. So kind of taking a turn from that. So it'll be interesting. That was probably out of the whole montage. I was like, oh, where's Otto? Like,
Same.
what's gonna
Yeah.
happen there?
I've been
So-
waiting for him, like looking for him. Where's he at?
Because he's
Talk about
been
him every episode.
he's been gone since what, the end of the first or the second episode?
Really? I can't remember.
Maybe the second, but yeah,
Yeah.
one of the first couple episodes. Yeah, I mean, he's
Once he
been gone
gets
a while.
dismissed, yeah. So
Yeah, gone. So Aegon never fired him as the hand in the book? I don't recall that at all.
no,
Kristen Cole's
I
hand.
was no Kristen's still hand. Yeah, I was. But Otto just like still in King's Landing.
Okay.
Yeah, I misspoke there. But he is the one that goes to get the fleet. So
Got it.
But Aemon doesn't make him hand when Aegon gets hurt.
no, he doesn't.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I thought that was interesting. It was cool to see him. Alicent was walking out of Dragonstone crying, and then Aegon and Larys running away in a cart. Obviously, as Ben just mentioned, Alicent does not know that she will return to a King's Landing where Aegon's just gone. So that's going to be a rude wake-up call to her.
Bartering piece.
Yeah, kind of risked your life for nothing there, lady. And
And-
now Rhaenyra's probably going to think you just betrayed her and let him escape, even though you just
Oh,
committed to
shit.
letting her have his head.
Oh,
And now
no,
she's like,
it's
oh,
not
you dirty rat.
It was
Yeah,
weird the way they
so-
edited it though, because you see Alicent walking through Dragonstone as Ulf and Hugh are getting armored up. Daemon's looking out at the army, and it's like, is Alicent about to walk out and Daemon's gonna be like 30 feet to her left? Like they like make quick eye contact, and she just kind of scurries off.
Well, and the lighting of the day was different between the shots of everybody else gearing up at Dragonstone and Alicent leaving. So that was
Yeah.
weird too. Like it was like dawn with her, and it was like nighttime for the. I don't know. It was. I don't know. It was a little odd. It did seem like some continuity error there, but. So yeah, pretty disappointing finale. Just not a lot to write home about when you pair up the penultimate and the finale there. So real quick, we'll go over overall season thoughts. And that's my main take is, yeah, I said it earlier, but as far as penultimate finale combos go, that was the weakest out of the now 10 seasons we've gotten, including Game of Thrones season 8, in my opinion. Like, still more happened in those final 2 seasons. We got the crazy bells episode, like, so I think this was the weakest combo we've ever had in a season. Very slow season, didn't really deliver at the end. But with all that being said, it's still a better season of television than most shows we've gotten recently, and I think season 3 is going to be unreal. I mean, I also had that feeling coming into season 2 after the finale we saw of season 1. I was like, this is going to be nuts. But I don't think there's any chance that season 3 isn't crazy and pops off. So, for me, rating wise, I'm going with a 7.9 out of 10 for the season. It was still solid, but it had a lot that it could have fixed and could have been made way better. So again, a lot of complaints, but it's still better than the average TV show. Somebody said that they watched an 8-hour trailer for season 3 this year. So yeah, it kind of felt that way. So Lub, overall season thoughts and rating, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I still love going to the world of Westeros every time. Like, this is prestige television. Every episode was well done, great acting and writing. I think they're doing a good job of adapting the book into a show, but they are kind of dragging it on at the same time. I think Emma D'Arcy actually absolutely killed it in the premiere with that one word of dialogue, and she just displays emotion so well on her face without saying a word. Ewan Mitchell, Aemond, has a bright future ahead of him. This is his first big role. He feels like a method actor. Like, he's just like, I feel like he's so deep into this character where he's portraying all of his emotions so well at the same time. So, like, those two are just, like, amazing actors and actresses. Damon, I mean, he wasn't great this season, but still Matt Smith is amazing.
Yeah.
There's just so much nuance in all the characters. Like, even when we're talking about Kristen the last couple episodes, everyone has, like, two sides to them. No one's just, like, black or white. There's a lot of in between. No race involved. But I still love it, but it was just left me hanging at the end. It just left me hanging. Like, I just wanted something at the end because I didn't love episode 7. I mean, episode 4, Rook's Rest, was by far the best episode.
That was the peak.
And
they blew their load early.
Right. Like, because I think we were talking about like episode 3 or episode 5, you and me, Dave, and it was like, it's slower, but this is some of the episodes we love in, like, season 1, season 2, season 3 of Game of Thrones, where, yeah, it's slower, but we're getting character development, we're getting these, like, one-on-one combos that are so interesting to watch, but at the end of the season, they need to deliver with something bigger. So I don't think they did. So I have it rated at an 8.2.
Okay. It's fair. Ben, let's hear it, and then we'll give JD's by proxy.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys touched on, like, even though not the greatest season, right, still better than most television. And with it being slower, I just, like I was telling Caleb this earlier, like, the last 4 episodes, I looked back today, we covered 8 pages of the book. There's 120 pages left to the end.
Holy crap.
And last time I was on, we touched on, like, it gets denser and deeper. So, like, it sets you up really good for season 3, but almost now you're at a point to where are things going to be rushed? Are we going to miss details on stuff? Or, like, they set up the peaks and valleys to, if you did something big in this finale, I really wanted the Battle of the Gullet. Like, you set it up perfectly to have that happen, timeline-wise, finale-wise, like, it all lined up. And they just dropped the ball, I think. So, season 3, like you said, hypothetically, it should just be popping off almost every episode.
Right.
But who knows, right? That's part of, they're starting to detour from the book, so, like, you can get excited for that, but it also gives you a bigger chance to mess things up in the same respect. So I think I'm more worried about where they're gonna go than excited. But it's almost like you can't fuck it up too bad because there's so many big events still to happen.
Right.
Right. But I gave it a 7.2.
Okay.
Solid, but just the ending, the last few episodes, like you had to do more. You have more to work with, right? We're not at a and last season of Game of Thrones point to where like you don't have book to go off of. Like you have plenty of events to throw in that last episode, and you just walked past all of them.
They edged us.
Dude, the
Yeah.
Battle of the Goal would have been awesome to have at the end there. Have some
Like,
battle at the
and
finale
just
or something.
perfect, like you led into it perfectly throughout the whole season, throughout the last
Yeah.
episode, and just boom, last 20 minutes. But
it's almost like if they did 10 episodes, they could have had after Thailand met with the
Yeah,
Tarashi, not in the finale, then that could have led into them clashing in the finale.
that's the other part that would have worked out perfectly as well. So I think that's part of the reason my score is lower, just because you had plenty of ample opportunities to make this like a great season finale, and
Yeah.
chose to give us, like you said, I thought of it as a 70-minute trailer.
Yeah. And I don't understand the reason why. Season 1 had 10 episodes. I don't know why we're just cutting episodes short all of a sudden.
With a great finale.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's like Ryan George on Pitch Meeting. He covers season 8 of Game of Thrones, and he has a little bit on YouTube where he's the guy pitching the movie and the movie producer. And he's like, yeah, I was going to write this, but we just ran out of episodes, so I just had to rush everything in. He's like, you can have more time. He's like, no, there's just no time. He's like, you can have it. Do you want more time? You can have it. He's like, no. He's like, dang it. It's like you have the opportunity to make more episodes if you need it. Just use it. So, yeah, very frustrating. And while we're frustrated, we'll get to JD's review because his is going to be the harshest out of them all. JD was also very frustrated with this season. So I'll read his quote here. I'm tired of investing so many hours into mediocre content. The acting and cinematography was top notch, but after that finale, this seems like another way to milk a cow, keeping us coming back without enough reward. This finale felt like a good midway episode. Ending the season 2 penultimate with Rhaenyra staring down Aemond with the dragons behind her led to zero satisfaction on that front, along with the void of satisfaction or any direct answer to her son being killed in last season's finale. Waste of time. He did go back and retract the waste of time part. He requested to have that cut from his take. He said, yeah, maybe I was a little harsh there. 6.5 out of 10, though, is what JD gave it. He was very frustrated with this season of television, and as I told him, I get it to an extent. It was frustrating. It's just, for me, it was just still, as we've said multiple times, the quality is just on another level from most TV shows out there. But it was a disappointing season as a whole, and you hate to see that. And I am on Lub's boat now regarding the fact that Rings of Power season 2 will trump season 2 of House of the Dragon, just like last year did. I think Rings of Power season 2 is going to be better than its first season, and I think this House of the Dragon season was worse than its first. So I don't see how it can't. So Rings of Power is looking for the back-to-back here.
Yeah, I think too with the 2-year break, like you leave the possibility of so many things in real life happening, like a writer's strike, God forbid something happens to an actor or a writer of the show, like
Yeah.
so many things could happen. Like you have all this together now, act upon it instead of just prolonging.
Take after Lord of the Rings and just film it in one go. Now that you don't have time jumps, you got the same cast, let's just crank them out. Everybody get a 8-month work schedule and just get to work, man. Let's do it. But people just don't work like they used to, they just don't make them like they used to back in my day. All right. Well, I know this part's hard for you, Ben, because you've read Fire and Blood. So Ben, Laura, Lub, do you guys have any big expectations for season 3?
I got one.
What do you got?
So we're talking about this Battle of the Gullet. I'm not super familiar with that, but I think that needs to take place in episode 1, hopefully, if not episode 2. But it needs to be like a Battle of the Bastards or The Wall type of episode where it's like one of those things where you find out, oh, they filmed this for 45 straight days, working day and night, getting this done, and it's like this 35, 40-minute battle scene where we're seeing, because it's a massive battle, like with the Old Town and the Starks and the Vale and Riverlands. Like, we've never seen a battle on this scale before, where it's the entire Seven Kingdoms
Westeros.
coming together with dragons. And so I think that battle needs to be like a good, long, entire episode of a battle.
Totally. You need to top Battle of the Bastards. You need to top the Watchers on the Wall. You need to top the Blackwater. Yeah, I think you need to aim for the best, like you said. So I'm really hoping for that. I know, yeah, I don't put the Long Night up there, to be honest. I don't think the Long Night deserves to be mentioned with Battle of the Bastards as far as quality of an episode goes. I know the entire episode was a battle to that aspect, yes, but as far as quality and enjoyment that I got out of it, I don't even think I've rewatched the Long Night episode yet because
I
it's
liked
just...
it more on the rewatch.
Okay, well, maybe I'll give it a shot then. At least I can enjoy more of the decent aspects, focus in on that. But yeah, I think they need to shoot for the stars with this because I think a lot of people coming off this season, well, I don't think I know, a lot of people are frustrated with this. Even before we got to the finale, there was a surprising amount of people who were like, "This show is slow. Why is everybody saying this is a great show? Like this is slow and boring." And they kind of proved them right with the finale there, which was very disappointing for people who've been defending the show. So, yeah, I really think they need to swing for the fences season 3. I said earlier, Ryan Condal, the showrunner, did confirm that you said it too, season 3, 2026, and season 4 is confirmed to be the final season of the series. So who knows if they pull some crap and do 2 6-episode seasons. Hopefully not. But you kind of never know at this point.
They put the pressure on themselves too to make a battle like that, right? Where again, if you do something big in this finale, then it's like all those people, we're in the minority with how we look at this. Like you said, like most people are like borderline tuning out of this, which they'll still watch it when it comes back.
Right.
But yeah, most people are like really disappointed with this. So like you had a chance to put that to bed too. But I'm hoping. Like, I think both seasons need to be 10 episodes.
I would imagine they'd be late.
We'll see. There's a lot to cover.
Don't like that.
Like I said, like we just spent 4 episodes on 8 pages of the book. That was not very deep, and we have 120 left. So you also put yourself in a position where like you're gonna start cutting out stuff that's important when you had no reason to because you made this season so slow.
Because we had to watch Thailand mud wrestle with freaking the Triarchy, and now we're missing out on key points of the. Whew, get me riled up.
The Ulf and Hugh scenes we got throughout the season, it was a lot of going back
probably
to
too
them
much.
just at the bar in King's Landing, hanging out with his wife and his dying kid.
Hugh's broke.
Yeah.
Oh, Hugh's still broke. Oh, Hugh's daughter is sick and he's broke. Like, yeah, we got it. I think we get where you're going with this. Well, and that's the funny thing too. A lot of the complaints of season 1, a lot of people were like, they rushed through some key stuff in the books. Like they skipped over certain things. It felt a lot of people were saying they rushed season 1, and now they did the total opposite with season 2. And it's like, no, get to the point.
Yeah, they overcompensated for it.
Yeah,
but that's part of that. It makes me think that they're like might change some major things. Like obviously, if they know what they're doing already, then it's maybe it won't be as crazy the 3rd and 4th season. Like if they're doing things differently, it might play out better to their timeline. So I could see that happening too. But we'll get a good idea of where the series in total is gonna go after like the first 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we only have 2 years left, boys. It'll be here in no time.
Yeah.
It actually will, because I can't even believe it's August of 2024. I don't know what the hell happened to 5 months of this year. But so, yeah, maybe if that keeps pace, we'll be there in no time. Hey, real quick, before we cut this, we're about to end it. But I've had multiple people bring this theory up to me. And I personally have my thoughts on it, but I was curious with you guys. Lev, I'll start with you. There's theories about Aemond and Daemon, they've both been brought up. Being the Night King, does this strike any chord with you at all? Because I've been seeing this a surprising amount. And Connor brought it up. Connor Noonan brought it up. Multiple other people social media. I've been seeing it. What do you think?
Well, I don't know if it was a Night King, but I think it's the one John chops the head off of. Is that
One of the
Black-
long-haired
what's
White Walkers
Mhm.
at Hardhome.
Hardhome, yeah. And I don't see it. It's just I don't see him having that fate. And is the Night King around right now? I guess he is, right? He's out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. No,
I guess
that
you got my
obvi-
answer. But
That obviously doesn't happen in Fire and Blood, and that would be
Well,
just too weird of an ending for the character. Or what, the Night King just like creeps up to King's Landing and fucking like puts his finger on Aemon's forehead and he fucking turns into one real fast. Like, I don't know how they would pull that off.
yeah, Ben, does that
I-
strike any chord with you?
Well, I read something, I can't remember the details, but it basically ruled that out, like something from a timeline in there's like stuff that happens in Game of Thrones. I could see them being White Walkers though, like that definitely a possibility, but not like the Night King himself. I don't think so. I thought it
Okay.
earlier in the season, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it brought up a lot, and I personally, we saw the Night King be created by the Children of the Forest hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years ago. Actually, I mean, it was a long time ago we saw him be created, and I think that is pandering. I think if they did something like that, that's where I'm like, okay, you're doing too much to connect it. Like they aren't that Aemond isn't the Night King. There was the whole thing about Bran. There was theories about him being the Night King because they had similar outfits during season 8 and stuff like that, and they were gonna like say there's a parallel between them. I believe that one more, but I don't buy this one at all. So, and I hope they don't try to pull that. Just that'd be its own thing.
Yeah, I don't think they will. But interesting to see where they go and how much they deter from the book.
Right. How much more White Walker stuff we get in this show? If it's just the prophecy, or if there's like, but I don't see them going north of the wall. There's no reason for them to go that far north again.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I will say the changes they have made to the book, for the most part, I like them. So if they are going to continue to make changes, I'm open to it because I think they've made some good choices. Yeah, and the White Walkers, part of the mystery is kind of what elevates them as a storyline too. I like the mystery of not knowing exactly everything about them, so I don't need it all told. But all right, well, I think we've spent enough time on this kind of underwhelming finale here. We have broke the 90-minute mark, so we are going to go ahead and wrap things up here. But it's House of the Dragon. We got to put some time into it, and we're not going to see it for 2 years. So excuse the long run time, but sometimes you gotta hold on to things before you say goodbye for 2 years. So shout out to Caleb, my co-host here, our guest Benjamin Donahue joining us as always. We appreciate you taking the time to hop on. It's been a nice new addition to the show, guest starring over here, so we'll hope to have you back soon again.
Member of the
and
Triarchy.
Oh yeah, I forgot I even typed that in there. Couldn't think of a third squad. Triarchy, it's already got 3 in it. It made sense, but
Closing question, Dave. Are you going to read
we
the
go.
book over the next 2 year span and give yourself time to forget it again, or are you just riding it out?
No, I've already struck the miracle of reading it and somehow forgetting all the important parts of this conflict, so I'm not pressing my luck. I'm going to push on unless I get 3 more things spoiled. If I get a few more things spoiled, I'm going to say screw it. I already know.
I
I'm
already
going
know
to read
everything.
it. I've gotten 2 major deaths spoiled already, so if I get 3 more, sure, I'll say screw it and I'll go back and read it again. But
So you're saying there's a chance.
there's a chance, but I'm thankful for my selective memory. I have looked at it as a gift as watching these 2 seasons. So I'm really hoping it lasts till 2026. But stay tuned. Maybe we end up covering Fire and Blood as a book, as an episode.
We only forgot because every single fucking Targaryen is named Aegon or
Right.
Daenerys
It was
or-
confusing.
Yeah, it was like,
And it was in a
Aegon
period-
First, second, third, fourth, fifth.
Yeah, and I listened to all 4 or 5 books and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms and The World of Ice and Fire, which is the boring history and fire. So there was a lot of crap I was listening to in like a year period. So, yeah, but again, thank you for joining us. Shout out to the audience who chimed in. It was a low episode, but that's okay. They're not all winners. We'll see you next time. Join us here on Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast.